Welcome back, everybody, here to the NLC. We've got our first game of the day coming your way. And this one, it means a lot for the bottom end of the table. This is a bit of a playoff race run for Resolve and Dusty. So the matchup here is important to help give a bit of a cushion when it comes to those relegation spots.
100%, and we're just coming off Spring Split, where Dusty had to fight their way back into the NLC after ending in relegations, obviously. So this is something you 100% want to avoid as an organization. Also, Resolve just came into the NLC this split, so going from a point in time where you get into the NLC, you get relegated immediately. No one wants to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it is Resolve against Dusty. Currently, the graphic is just testing you guys, making sure you're listening to what we're saying. So that should get changed a second. And to note, if Resolve win this, Dusty are locked in the relegations. There's no way they manage to get out of that situation. So, you know, as much as this is big for Resolve, for Dusty, this game is everything. And we can see already bans coming out, Nidalee targeted away from Sawyer. And I think he is a big pressure point for this team. At their best, we've seen Dusty leaning on their jungler to find a massive advantage. So I want to see what Resolve will do to shut that down.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Sawyer has a well, to be honest, a lot of junglers, but Sawyer being one of them, have had those performances where Nidalee has essentially hard carried, so I don't blame them for getting that one off the table. I also believe Granite probably cheering on Resolve here, because they are obviously, as Orc said, not 100% locked out of relegations, but if Dusty were to lose, that would mean that Granite are also safe, and that would give them less pressure going into their matchup later on. Now, it's going to be a Viego first lock-in here. We're going to see an immediate response of the Varus and the Diana. We have seen a bit of Diana. We saw XL play it yesterday in the jungle for Dan. So getting a bit of resurgence in the meta.
I mean, for me and Orcs, this should probably be a staple pick, since we've been watching so much LPL recently, obviously. But this is a champion that you love to pair up with some of these heavy AD laners, like the Renekton you just beat CB logged in, said as well. So with that off the table, though, it can be kind of hard finding these lock-ins you want to pair it up with, because a lot of these stables you usually pair up with the Diana has been taken off the table. So I'm looking at Dusty right now, and I'm saying, all right, do you want to go into the second ban phase with lots of these ADs taken away? Or do you want to secure your support in towards the Leona area now? And it looks like they just want to go for a stable weak side here. A bit interesting of a rotation coming up for Dusty, where they get a bit of everything on everywhere on the map, really.
Yeah, and it kind of suggests that they are wanting to lean towards that bot side of the map, which makes sense having the Varus available. So I expect to see Dusty targeting AD carries in this situation. Although you could potentially look for any AD AP options towards the mid jungle, just to sort of limit what Resolve can offer. For the side of Resolve, I think a Braum ban makes a lot of sense here. Really good into Leona, really good in those skirmishes, and you already have a lot of engage with the Moonfall and with the Varus Chains of Corruption, but they're going to open up with the Jace ban. Obviously, they know that the AD mids are an issue, and they're looking to try and thin the pool there. Lucian is still open and available, which is something to note.
See the second ban phase come through. Tristana Sivir being taken off the board here, so Achi won't get his hands on either of those. So the Jace obviously banned away from Resolve, and the Irelia picked off as well. Vorsi actually had a relatively decent Irelia game the last time we saw him, so going to take that away. And now Dusty have to choose. They have the Mundo locked in. We've seen a little bit of rework to Mundo in the NLC. Saw it yesterday for Fnatic Rising in the jungle. But of course, that's where you see it mostly played now. They kind of nerfed his top lane presence a little bit. And as mentioned, the Braum looks like it's going to be the lock-in here for Dusty.
Now, hear me out. What if Archie, I know the 6 is banned, what if Archie got onto a mage down in this bot lane? You lock in Sejuani, you have Renekton and Viego to play for in lanes, you have the AP in the bottom lane, and then you play top side of the map and play weak side into a Braum. Now, I think that would be, I don't think they're going to do it, right? But I feel like that would be a huge rotation to come in here as well. But Ezreal does look like a pretty decent stable when you already have the Leona, but now you need that AP because you're lacking a great amount in that department right now. So you could send the Viego jungle and then just pick up a mage in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think you have to do that. I think it's a lot harder to find an AP jungle champ at the moment. There's still, I guess, Rumble in theory, but it's definitely lower in priority. And I think it makes more sense just to pick up something for Chimera that is a mage, and he's gonna take that Orianna, lock that one in. So decent front line so far for Resolve. Got that Ezreal Orianna backline, which is solid. For Dusty, though, Lucian makes complete sense. Got the Braum, provides the AD, really strong lane into the Orianna. And for me, I feel like Dusty have come out pretty comfortably in this one. I feel like they have really strong scaling AD champions on their team, great front line, strong dive potential. I think mid lane and bot lane are going to be real sore points. And then, yeah, there's top lane, which is just going to be Mundo farming from a distance.
And I also think it's about when these compositions really spike here, because from the start of Resolve, you are going to be waiting for some of these items. Renekton is, realistically speaking, the only one you can play for, but you're playing in towards a Mundo against double AD, so he'll just be going double armor runes instead. So I think for Dusty, your game plan should just be keep track on Soft, because if Soft is not able to influence a lane, Dusty should honestly be fine with what they have gathered for themselves.
Yeah, I think also, this is a very Resolve type draft. Resolve generally tend to play Chimera on mages and just kind of sit back and let him play that scaling style. So they've played that kind of style pretty much all split long. I don't think there's any surprises in the way that they've kind of drafted here. But this means, I want to reiterate, it means a lot for these two teams. Like, Dusty need the win. They absolutely need the win here before we get into this.
Yeah, and I think as well, one thing that we see a lot in the LPL with this Diana pick, because it's super popular over there, is you have a window to punish it. Pre-6, she doesn't have as much agency, she's not as good at skirmishing, and post-6, the ult just gives so much team fighting power, it becomes a lot more difficult. And I think the lack of prow on the bot side and having the Viego, who isn't the most proactive jungler, means this should be a pretty free early game for Diana, and when we hit that mid-game point, 6 and onwards, it's going to be pain time for Resolve.
Well, we'll see if pain time comes through. Tell you what is painful? Jake skipping out on today's NLC broadcast. But luckily, we have a beautiful caster to replace him. Initialize, joining up with Jamada for the cast.
You are far too kind, Scoundrel, but I'll take the compliment wherever it comes. I am indeed Initialize. I am joined by none other than Jamada, who is equally as beautiful. Glad to be on the desk with you today, sir, and an interesting first match to kick it all off.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, set it on the desk, right? For Dusty, pretty much last chance saloon. If they lose this game, they are going to be in relegations.
Yeah.
There's no way out. And obviously for Resolve, if they win this game, that means they will escape it. There's no way for them to end up in that situation.
Even if Dusty win today, it's not like they're out of relegations either. They'll only tie up the head-to-head with Dusty. They only tie up the game score. Next week, though, I mean, Resolve's next game would be Singularity, which would be a tough one to win. Granite for Dusty, maybe a little easier, but still certainly anything but a guarantee. So there's a world where even if Dusty wins today, there's still a likelihood of a tiebreaker to stay out of relegation. So this is only step one of a couple for Dusty, but they have got to make this first step if they want to avoid relegations.
Yep, absolutely. What a fun story it would be, though.
I know. Man, it would be. I mean, this whole group could get really interesting because there's a world where you get like a crazy three-way tie at the top as well. We get, I think, a crazy three-way tie at the bottom as well, assuming some ridiculousness, if I recall correctly. I mean, it would take a lot of wins going against expectations, but it's possible.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, just taking a look over at the Dusty head-to-heads, they don't have the head-to-head against Granite or Resolve, so they would 100% force tiebreakers if they were to go on a two-game win spree. On the back.
I feel like it would be Europe. It would be Europe if there were tiebreakers. Like, it's just the way it works here. Like, this continent just has a thing for tiebreakers at the end of the season. Make things incredibly exciting, and I'll be really looking forward to it. But there's still this game to play before we can kind of consider that. We can just cross our fingers and hope. If you're enjoying a sort of like, if you're looking for the most exciting outcome, I guess, unless you're a fan of either of these teams and want them to win, which would be completely understandable in fairness.
Yeah, definitely agree. Both these teams can be quite fun to watch. I feel maybe a little more frustrating if you're a Resolve fan. It feels like there was certainly a lot of potential here. But yeah, I think focusing back into the game,
yes,
definitely very interesting to see at the very least soft pathing down towards his bottom side. I feel like you would maybe want to, as highlighted on the desk, probably play into the Renekton. Try and force some skirmishes around there. Diana's not the strongest skirmisher. The issue really for Viego is he doesn't have the best ganks in the world, but if he gets on top of you, skirmishing is great.
I mean, Lisa's a Leona down there to potentially set something up. I mean, you can set that up and then go in with the Spectral Maul. It took me a second to remember the name of that ability, but you know, there is some option to follow up, even if it's not necessarily the best initial setup yourself. You're not like necessarily an Elise or somebody who has all the kind of ability with Repel and the cocoons and all the rest of it. So maybe an option there, but as you said, it's leaving the Renekton kind of to fend for themselves up against the Mundo. You know, Renekton can certainly do that, has the strength in lane to make the Mundo's life a little bit tricky, particularly through 6, but otherwise, relatively quite early game that it does look like Sawyer is going to get first access to the Skull Crab in the bot side, and Soft is going to have to roam his way back up the map to get that top side Skull Crab.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I feel like if you knew you was gonna end up on the top side Skull anyway, why not just start bot?
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Because I feel like now as well, if Sawyer wants to, he can slip in, and they know that the Krugs are there as well, so he's going to get an extra
Does
camp.
indeed.
And Soft's not going to have that up on the top side. So stronger pathing from Sawyer, in my opinion. And this is the kind of punish early on that we kind of want to try and see onto the Dr. Mundo. Can be very squishy against, double CC like this potentially.
All right, well, the Ruination's happening in game, and it'll happen to the top side as well. Mundo falls down for first blood. There we go. All the while, though, Sawyer and Warzy are about to cause a dive towards this bot lane. Chu and FGG need to try and outplay. It's a good stun under the ground for Blue, who's going to have to flash away, puts up the door and just about survives. Gets away with daylight robbery there. Appropriate considering the skin, but teleport burn for a couple key summoners on the side of Dusty.
Yeah, I feel like if you're Dusty, you don't get the dive off. With all the members committed, you might feel a little bit slower about it, but you get the teleport, you get both summoners out of Archu. I feel like you're still okay on the summoner trade, 1-to-1. Interesting to see how it's going to affect the mid lane matchup, though. Chimera doesn't have teleport, had to base, go back. Warzy should be able to deliver this wave in the mid lane and actually go and get a reset off himself.
Yeah.
And you can see he's significantly up in CS despite making the roam happen, regardless. So.
Yeah, Chu taking a bit of a nasty train there as well, actually. It's going to have to get a bit of a back off, and that's with the wave coming in as well, so that's going to lose a fair amount of minions down here as well. So yes, I probably do have to eat my words there. Dusty come out ahead in the summoner trade. They're coming out in the health trade here. They got a lot of CS in a lot of good lanes here. That's pretty good news. Chu does cancel the back to try and clear out this wave, but probably is going to end up having to back at some point looking at those health bars and that mana pool as well. Yeah,
definitely. So he's going to have to stack a wave eventually. Maybe after this one, or maybe it is just this one. Soft is on the bottom side though, so they may feel a little more comfortable, like there won't be a redive. I actually like this from Warzy is always sitting in fog in the mid lane. He's going to show again now, but just the additional pressure. Ooh, very nice. You can see you're sat on that control ward. And now Soft is on the bottom side, actually spotted on the ward there.
Nice.
Dusty
I like that one.
Yeah, Dusty aren't going to get caught off by anything, and M-Test and Barlu going to get their reset off instead.
Get that nice back when they want to. It's the serrated Dirk in for the Varus, which is great news for them. Start hitting a little bit hard with those piercing arrows. And he's going to get back before the wave gets shoved into tower, so just nicely timed. And Warzy hits 6 and culls Chimera there, down to about 20% HP. There's no teleport there as well, so looking like another slightly unfortunate back timing. Just this lane priority working wonders for Dusty in the early game.
Yeah, definitely so. And in response, I really want to see Resolve try and punish this top side. I know you didn't necessarily get Mundo's flash, but we saw the amount of damage that can come out between Renekton and Viego. And I actually saw this lane matchup 1-to-1 in the UKLC during the week. It was actually Diana in the jungle, however. So it was, it was a mixed damage profile at the very least, but it was so easy to knock down the Mundo in the early stages. And even after he hit 6, it still feels like you can pretty easily play around that element. Now instead, looks like they want to punish Warzy. He doesn't have flash, and Sawyer's actually on the dragon, so he's not going to have any backup.
Flash for the Zenith Blade just misses for FGG there. Warzy escapes with their life, doesn't even need to burn his own summoners for that, so just swift fingers on the Relentless Pursuit, or the Relentless Escape in this case, and Renekton's going to have a wave shoved into tower for Caleb, and might just lose a couple minions there, and Dusty just get the better end of that trade in general. Now Chu can I get away from the attempted Winter's Bite there. Blue doesn't quite land that one, and Dusty just coming out a little bit ahead there, and kind of are expecting to see maybe a little bit more out of this top pairing from Resolve. See if they can get Soft and Caleb into a position where they can punish this Mundo, especially if there is a world where you can take them down under tower before they get a couple lives, before they do become unbearably tanky.
Yeah, exactly. It's, we are only 7 minutes into the game, but it's more about sort of the trying to use the tempo, right? Or trying to sort of understand, okay, Dusty have a lot of the agency on the bottom side. They're using a lot of their own tempo, their own time into investing stuff around mid, around bot. We have to kind of use our top side. We can't necessarily answer SGG.
Trouble just goes down, CC'd and dropped as soon as you like. Jamato was just like, look, don't you were just saying that.
I was just like, nah, he's probably going to survive. Yeah, never mind.
Leona's supposed to be tanky with Eclipse, but apparently the W just not quite enough that time out, and M-Test and Baloo just fine with the 2v2.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the reason he goes down there, Blue the Flash trying to find Warzy in the mid lane and have it in that particular play. And now Dusty, they've sniffed out the Herald. don't even have priority in the top side Resolve, so kind of a weird time to take it though. They've actually got FGG up here. And Archu can start to move relatively soon, but however, M-Test is already on the top side. But that's a massive chunk. I think Resolve are going to try and take this fight.
They are now with Baloo, very, very low. No level 6 side for Glacial Fissures as well, where they go in. That is Leona in the back. Look at the backside. Hits Chimera, and he misses the shockwave internal. FGG left out to dry, left out to die, and he goes down. That's a big pickup.
Oh, stop on it.
Stolen by Soft. That's at least something. A little bit of salt in the wound, and Caleb gets out as well. All right, just a kill. And with the Eye of the Herald going to waste in the river. But nice little pickup there to stop that one being a complete disaster for Resolve.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially when you take into the context how this game's been going so far for Dusty, likely would have been able to have used that Herald on the bottom side and taken, in likelihood, the entire tower. So denying that Herald away, pretty big deal. I don't think Soft is going to spot out Warzy. And even if he did, I don't think he would go on to him.
Would be a bit risky.
Yeah, it would be pretty risky. FGG was there, but I don't think the CC would be enough with Warzy having flash and likely the E. But yeah, big, honestly, for Resolve to steal that one away. Dusty, like you say, Soul in the Wound, going to feel pretty upset about that one. But I don't think in the grand scheme of things it's going to affect them too heavily. Potentially just holding a faster snowball at worst.
I mean,
let's see how they want to play out now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that potentially is big news in the fact that they did have so much lane priority. So there was a world where the Herald placement gets a little bit more value because they can get the wave shoved in more easily, but don't get a hold of that, so can't push that lead as much as they have. Got about 1,000 gold lead, which is good news, about the 10-minute mark, and there's about a minute and a half till the next dragon, which I'm sure Dusty would love to set up for. But that's kind of all they wrote home to at this point, partly because that Herald isn't available to either squad, but both junglers now around the spot side. I'm expecting maybe a little bit of action.
Yeah, FGG just dinged over 6 too.
Oh, that's a big one engaging, and Baloo going to try and disengage best they can, but the teleport's now coming through. Look at the back end though. Sawyer going to get stunned, miss the Crescent Strike as a result. Baloo trying to find the way out. It's a defuse the Winter Spite as FGG taken so desperately low by the pits now. Soft flashes and misses the Spectral. More Shockwave comes out though, and Chimera gets the kill. Soft will steal the body as the top side bit of trading between the top laners.
Yeah,
it's just a kill over to the end of Resolve. Actually, not over yet, as Caleb just takes a massive chunk of health as he tried to go in. Ultimate's now popped by both tops, and nothing else to be found here at this point.
Yeah, no, Caleb playing with fire. His Dominus was on a couple seconds cooldown before he took that trade. Probably wasn't expecting the amount of damage to be returned back
I was.
by the Dr. Mundo. Yeah, I mean, certainly, I agree. I think also maybe expecting a little more healing off the Cold Meek, but wow, there's a lot of vision up on the top side. If Warzy was fogging right now, they could certainly go and look for a dive, especially after the Resolve just went and made a play on the bottom side. Commit the teleport as well from Chimera yet again. And now Warzy actually kind of out of position.
He's in trouble, flashes away from the Spectral Maw and escapes with his life. That nearly looked like a very good wraparound, but does manage to outplay it. Does Warzy get out? I was trying to push the advantage he had in mid by staying there as much as they could. Does have got a couple plays themselves, just get a big CS lead. That's the price of Chimera's teleport. But in trade for only a flash, I think Warzy will probably take that one.
Yeah, Warzy will be happy not to drop, definitely. But I feel like in the last couple of minutes or so, Dusty kind of taken their foot off the gas. They've not really pressed for any plays, particularly around the bottom side. The matchup is so positive. You can obviously kind of just leave it in that neutral state, play out the farm game just because, you know, Diana does scale so well, but I mean, it's not like Viego doesn't, just farms a little bit slower. But I think when Resolve aren't necessarily making too many plays around the top side, or more specifically the stronger lanes, right? The Renekton, you can start to play around the Orianna now. They feel pretty comfortable being a little static.
Absolutely, I was just going to mention Divine Sundra, complete for Soft. That's potentially quite important as the Ocean Drake spawning. There is a completed Mythic for Zombie as well, and Dusty are going to set this up, and I don't think Achu has had chance to back, so I don't think the health bar's fantastic. Can't see right now, but the teleport's now coming in behind. Warzy's thrown out the culling, and the dragon is just taken by Soft. He stole it away. In fact, now there's a shot from the back that hits 3, and he buys time for Zoe just to go down. Such a good start right now to the fight by Resolve, and Dusty having a flash and get out of here as best they can. The Solar Flare slows 2. In goes Soft and Chimera for even more. Reset City. The Arcane Shift and Makeshift shots doing their work for Ezra on the back end, and Zombie at least escapes with their life. But now M-Test and Baloo left out in this bot side with so little.
There's no wave.
There isn't a wave though, and they are going to be able to just escape with their lives. But that is a big pickup for Resolve. That shockwave from Chimera was a thing of beauty.
Yes, absolutely, and we'll get to see it right here in the replay. As Soft starts it off, gets the Dragon Soul away. I mean, Caelim's teleport, you understand it initially, but he's just eventually cut off. That Shockwave buys so much time. 3 members locked down. Soft also takes down the Diana, gets that reset going. And as soon as he's got that, can dash in, immediately use the Heartbreaker again to find 2 more members. As actually Baloo is able to escape. Of course, and Zombie eventually does flash away, but you can see the threat of the Viego and the scaling, all of the utility added on top with the Orianna. Effectively kind of a 4v5 when you think about how Caelim was kind of removed from the fight.
Yeah. Just couldn't get there as in the mid lane. Soft managed to escape just about, and we're left with a very even gold game, but what looked pretty good for Dusty in terms of the lane priority and getting some of those plates early on has kind of now been somewhat nullified. I'm looking at that mid jungle in particular. I'm looking at the Ezreal as well, actually, now I'm looking at it as well, and a couple kills there, Mythic starting to come through, and maybe Dusty have got the priority. They scale pretty well with the double AD carries as well, but if you're playing fights like that, maybe you got to be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, certainly so. And I mean, right now, Resolve can start to feel pretty comfortable taking fights. I think once Chimera gets either the Ludens or... I'm pretty sure that is the only thing that the Lions can build out of, unless Everfrost builds out of a blasting one, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
I'd love to tell you, but I don't trust myself.
I don't play enough Everfrost champions.
I'm going to skip that one personally.
Yeah, no, but yeah, so once Chimera gets his first item as well, they're definitely going to feel a little more comfortable skirmishing even further. And Archie, of course, still going to require the Muramana, but I mean, he's pretty close to stacking up the tier. Just needs the gold to actually finish up the item. Certainly will be on Spike, but on the opposite side, Dusty kind of across the board, really, really close to getting the full completion of all of their first items. It's just Sawyer weighing on Nash's Tooth, and then he will be there. Interesting, actually, to see the Nash's Tooth come out as the first item, because it feels like over the last couple of weeks, it's typically been the Rocket Belt pretty much universally. I feel like we just don't really see Nash's Tooth rushes anymore.
It's been a while.
Yeah, however, Sawyer still feels like it is the item of choice. Maybe it is pretty situational. I'm actually unsure, but Rocket Belt just feels so good.
With it potentially, I'm trying to think about it, and it is so nice with the attacks. But you lose some of the engage range, which has been a lot of one of Diana's big selling points, right? Like Protobelt, Flash, and then Lunar Rush is just a huge amount of range to get it on top of people, and you lose that a little bit. But maybe considering, aside from the Ezreal, everyone else is pretty easy to get on top of, or at least you know where they're going to be. There's maybe an option as Zombie. Could be about to be his namesake in a second here. Gonna get dived pretty quickly. Zombies pop the ultimate, try and buy space, and it is doing pretty good. But look who else is here. It's FGG. But it's not gonna be enough because Zombie just heals enough and gets out. It's starting to get a bit tricky to dive now.
Yeah, great health as well. You saw how much he got back with that ultimate. On top of it, it is a lot, but now that they've come back for the re-engage, could be enough. They have enough CC to break the shield and then actually stun him down.
They've broken the shield and they're going to stun him in place. The Ignite comes out to stop the healing. Heartbreaker puts Mundo in the grave. Going to have to fetch an anesthetist for his own surgery there. Put down very quickly. But at what cost is what we have to ask. There's a lot of pressure elsewhere. But only the one tower goes down towards the bot side. And with the Herald and inventory for Soft, I think that could be pretty easily traded back.
Yep, definitely so. Sawyer and Wazzy, though, can probably shred this tower pretty quickly. And remember, this is the tier 2.
It's true.
600 gold locked in that tower. However, obviously, like you say, Dusty, no one's on the top side either to respond. And with the Herald push, it's going to be kind of just as fast. Maybe 10 or so seconds behind. So both these teams trading out these tier 2 towers. Resolve technically did trade up. I feel like that tier 1 in the bottom side was lost a little while ago now, as gold up on our screens, Warzy significantly up on Chimera right now, 1,000 gold. Soft does find himself around 700 up in the top side. Relatively negligible, it's only 300, and in the bottom side, 500 for M-Test. So kind of across the board, some big, some smaller leads here and there. But Fur Dragon's actually spawning. It's crept up on us quite quickly. And Dusty, they've got first move. Resolve, they had the members on the top side. They had to commit to that tower a little bit longer. Now Dusty, they're going to have control over this area.
This could be a big one. Last fight went very heavily in Resolve's favor. That true shot barrage going to clip a couple. Put M-Test pretty damn low. About half HP right now is not what you want to see for Dusty, but the Zombies here and sitting in the front line, and Soft now on the Dragon. He's won the last 2 smite fights pretty handily, and Wolsey and Soy gonna try and get what they can. That solar flare into the shockwave, though, is absolutely catastrophic. It's a double kill for the Ruined King. And where are the Sentinels when you need them? Clearly aren't playing the little visual novel that's in the client right now. Massive win for Resolve in the team fight.
Absolutely huge for Resolve. Dusty just caught out by that FGG engage. The shockwave full up is absolutely huge. 3, maybe 4 members even caught up in it. Absolutely disgusting. Dusty didn't really have much of a chance to even respond. As soon as FGG went in, it felt like the fight was almost already over. M-Test. I mean, he's up on the top side, but he's out of mana, and he can't really respond to the rest of his team being blown up. So it's kind of unfortunate. Warzy as well, similar position. His entire front line kind of just gets melted. There's nothing he can really do. Sawyer didn't even get to cast the Moonfall. The combination was just clean from Resolve. Nothing else to really say about it.
Turns out the sun was stronger than the moon that time, right? As FGG just comes in, that little bit of drama continue to play out from the lore.
I wonder, is the... sorry to cut you. I wonder if this, the matchup Leona Dynaris got the, you know how like Rengar Karzik,
that's true.
Thresh center? I'm pretty sure there's got to be a quest, right?
Surely. I mean, I actually don't know. I mean, if I'll throw this one to production. If you guys can find out the background, I'd love to know. Is seeing a bit of a replay of the mid lane as Warzy tried to get the kill onto a tube, but couldn't quite get it. But you've got to feel like there should be, surely. Like it would feel thematically pretty nice.
It would, as a M-Test jumps out pretty low, but looks like he's going to be fine. And Dusty, they've set up camp in the top side. Baron, of course, spawning pretty soon. It looks like we're going to see a bit of a split map here, where Resolve, they want to take down these towers on the bottom side. Dusty, they want these towers on the top side. Right now, Dusty, technically, tempo advantage. They're already on this tower. They've got a wave. You can see Chimera is here, but he's respecting quite heavily the fact that he could get free man. He's out of mana, though, so it looks like they're just going to kind of call off the push there.
He's keeping the goal pretty even, though. He's just being able to take all these towers as best they can for the side of Dusty. Baloo is here to try and save this mid lane tier 1 alongside M-Test, who can clear wave from a metric mile away. Actually, I don't think that is metric, so, you know, messing up my systems at Imperial mile away.
Are you...
Doesn't quite have the same ring. But
where are you from, bro?
No, apparently so. It's the combination of an English degree with like just a lot of phrases in my head. So I tried to combine the two and came up with that horrific amalgam, and that's what we got.
It's all right. It's okay.
It's not. I'm judging myself, so I'm assuming everyone else is.
Look, Kiriva. Wait, where? Okay, looking for Chimera. I mean, is he out
back
though?
real quick?
I
think surely, unless
there
is
the other blaze.
Ooh, half second.
Just about makes it out, and I mean that's teleport blown from Warzy. Might not be a big deal though if they are keeping Warzy on the top side either way. So it's not going to feel too bad about losing that teleport, especially when, you know, the potential risk versus reward. They find Chimera right there. They could potentially look for a Baron.
Gold now about 1,000 the lead of Resolve, and that's with like a tower on the advantage of Dusty, but the Dragons have started going the way of Resolve, and these team fights have been pretty heavily Resolve favored. But let's make no mistake, Dusty here still have tools to work with. That is a pretty strong Lucian. That's a Varus who's nearly got that Muramana transformation to work with as well, so a lot of strength there. I'm just looking over, and I'm also seeing a Viego at 4-0-4 and thinking that gets really scary to deal with.
Yeah, it does. And if Soph is able to, you know, for example, take the form of Zombie, it's going to be kind of ridiculous.
Rough.
From the Dusty point of view. It's one of the things where, you know, Viego works so well even when he's fed or behind. It's like, if you're behind and you steal somebody that's really, really fed, issues there as well. Was he clipped by the shockwave? Archu is also here.
Cost him here.
Yeah.
Over careful, Sawyer's in the bush. Bush is taken so down low, but Cullen's coming out. Chimera gonna get hit by the Moonfall. Taken down in a second. Flat as a
He's got a stopwatch.
Enough auto attacks will go down to the tower until the
FGG.
stopwatch comes out. FGG is here, but I just don't think he's gonna be able to get there in time. Is there a teleport available? Soft's coming up looking to punish. Look at that Sentinel skin. This feels even more climactic right now. There's the solar flare coming out. Solari on Lunari, a little bit of drama. Sawyer gonna try and find the way, but it's a shutdown going the way of Viego, so it will be a 2-for-1 in the end. Nice little play from Dusty, though, to at least make a proactive play. It's been a moment since one of those have worked for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to say, it feels like we've not really seen Dusty beat the provocateurs. I feel like I've butchered that word pronunciation, but you know what, English, it's my first language, so it's not even an excuse.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting you to go somewhere else with that.
They've not been the proactive one. There you go. Sorry. Look, I try and be fancy with English sometimes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Okay with provocateur.
Yeah.
Provocateur.
Yeah.
I can't remember. This is a guy with an English degree. You think I'd get that?
Yeah.
I was an English teacher for a bit.
It gets worse, guys. So yeah,
I know.
It's very nice creative play to find those two picks. And even though they do lose Sawyer, they're still back for this dragon. Now, of course, Soft has won out on a couple of the smites on these neutral objectives. So Dusty don't actually have this dragon lead right now. But again, positional advantage can definitely play a big part. But I mean, Resolve, they're all on Spike, with the exception of Archery, just doesn't quite have the Mirror Mana. But I mean, if they can find a nice lockdown on one of these carries, find a big Moonfall, it's really huge. But if you see enough one of these Resolve wombo combos, I don't know if Dusty can stand up to that.
All flashes, all ultimates available for both teams. The dragon is started. This will be Soul Point.
Oh, look at Caleb.
But look at Caleb on the back end of this. Soft as well. It's a massive pin towards on the flank. We can try and go to Chimera for calling a shoot. On the other side, the shockwave comes through anyway. Zombie's trying to slide, but Warzy is running rampant in the backside. Gonna get flashed on. Soft is dominating though. And the Ruin King makes his mark. They'll come out with the team fight victory. They don't care about the dragon right now. They're sending Caleb over to take it while they move over to the Baron. They want to take their cake and eat it too. They come out there 3,000 gold up, and what a fight that was.
What an amazing shockwave again from Chimera. Really, really on point with these ultimates and these big brawls. And the result will be, Resolve are going to pick up this dragon. They're not actually going to do the Baron, curiously enough. Maybe a little bit of indecision from Resolve in the moment. But either way, still going to put them at Soul Point. Have a replay of that fight in a moment as Archu just picked up the Mirror Mana as well. And again, like you highlighted in the play-by-play, it's just this massive pincer. There's nothing that they can really do about this. The Shockwave clips everybody. True Shot Barrage goes for everyone as well. There's, again, another big team fight in front of this dragon. There's nothing to say about Dusty. They had the positional advantage, but they just get caught off guard by another FGG engage into follow-up from the Shockwave.
The fact that Caleb managed to find their way all the way around into
without
the
teleport
blue side jungle was such a big deal.
Yeah.
And as well, I thought Warzy had the beautiful flag. My eyes were going between the left side of the fight where Warzy was trying his best to delete the backline, whereas on the other side where that Shockwave hit 4. And I was like not sure who's going to come out on top for a moment there, but Warzy just couldn't find the kills, whereas Resolve, unfortunately for Dusty, really could as that True Shot Barrage clips M-Test as well into a big Arcane Shift Mystic Shot, and that's the Chains of Corruption down as well. Just a lot of pokes starting to come out as well. Like Ezreal coming out on top of the Varus, the map controls going down. It's Soul Point now for Resolve, and I feel like it's their game to lose at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've seen Resolve lose bigger leads than this. So,
I know.
Buckle in, anybody who's not used to the NLC, because I'll tell you now, if I had to wager which team has thrown the most leads, Resolve is probably in the top 3.
It's got to be close.
It's got to be close, because they're going to start up the Baron. Dusty, it's going to be a slow approach. It's going to be meticulous. They have no vision on the top side right now. But I mean, honestly, Resolve, they could just look to turn. They're ahead. They know they've been winning fights. There's going to be no threat.
Keep your hands and arms inside of the coaster at all times. We're about to go down a massive drop. Welcome to the Jamada Coaster, ladies and gentlemen, as Diana is the first casualty. Dusty now trying to extricate themselves from this situation, but they'll be down their jungler. They don't have the smite to secure this Baron, and they still need to fight this because this really would be a nail in the coffin. They're not quite 6 feet deep, but they're being lowered in. Look at Warzy on the back. Maybe he can find something. The solution has got to be a stock. It's a big chunk onto the Leona. But now the turn comes. They're burning down the team of Dusty. Soft is godlike. And now Baloo trying to run away into the jungle, but there is no book, no way out. You will not be finding the bare necessities to survive this day. And they'll turn back to the Baron and Resolve find what they need to in that fight.
Yep, absolutely. It felt like FGG. It's got the stopwatch. Like night.
Get really close. No! Warzy!
Oh man. Yeah, I'm sure Warzy's feeling pretty happy about that one as Caleb, careful. Baron secured by Resolve, and finally feels like I may confidently be able to say Resolve should be able to tuck this one into bed. Get the turn here out of them, and I mean, this was after already they'd dealt with Sawyer. There was no smite available. I was wondering whether or not Resolve would actually be able to take the turn. I know, yes, they have the numbers advantage, but worried more about the ultimate economy. But when you've got Soft with the Heartbreaker still up, the ability to find all of those resets, which doesn't really matter in the end. As a 1-for-1 in the mid lane. I guess you took the Baron buff off FGG, but trading 1-for-1. Well, ideal.
I mean, this is the problem. The only proactive Grievous Wounds, was on Sawyer, who got deleted before that fight started. It was a 4v5, and then Viego and Renekton with Gordrick managed to run the way. Just walks away and finds a shockwave afterwards. It's a 4v2. Making a 4v2
Resolve
as
walking.
turns in. Soft is coming down as well. They want this. I don't know whether they want it at all. Though, as MTS going very low. Chimera goes golden in the fight. Now commencing, trying to flash away. Baloo in trouble alongside the rest of the members. And Viego is welcome to Reset City. Start up the Kiss soundtrack because everybody needs to leave their seats and maybe find their way to the nearest crematorium because Warzy and the rest of Dusty are being burnt to the ground this game. The harrowed path starting to come away as well, and that is a very long way for Ward to try and escape. I suspect he'll have some options, trying his best. He's got the press the attack running. He's got a blast cone as well, and I think he's going to have a way to escape. All the while, it's stopping him, retreating. Look at the rest of the members of Resolve. They're just taking the base, and Warzy's not around to clear waves or fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's great from Soft, honestly. He's just buying so much time. He doesn't need to be here with the rest of the Resolve right now. They've got Baron buffs of their own. They've got that mid lane inhib. Now, okay, no, it's not going to be a flank. No, it would be hilarious. It won't be. But they don't get that top lane inhibitor, which I suppose is a positive for Dusty. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you lost so much in the bottom side, and you still lose a mid lane inhibitor. I think Caleb is hitting a tier 2 tower right now. And that's 600 gold. That's going to go into his pocket, very likely. And
yeah, 2 inhibitor towers and an inhibitor. They get the tier 2 in bot as well. I don't know how many other tier 2s they got. I believe it'll be the tier 2 in mid as well, if I recall correctly, but I apologize, I'm not quite sure. But either way, that's a lot of structures. It's a lot more gold. They're up 8,000 gold. They're about to get a Mountain Soul off the back end of this as well. And I know it comes with a certain level of uncertainty because Resolve have thrown massive leads before, but surely with Mountain Soul, with this amount of gold, with this kind of team comp, with the structure and sort of like map control advantage, they have this game.
They should. I'm not convinced until I see a Nexus because that's just kind of how it's been with a lot of these mid games from Resolve. But today so far, very, very decisive in so many of these fights. They are kind of just outclassing Dusty at every single skirmish here. This is probably the first moderately big moonfall we've seen all game, and it barely even tickled the front line of Resolve. And I mean, they were the first ones. They weren't even the first ones to display. It was Dusty that committed to try and make a pick onto Chimera. But once they don't find that with the initial CC, it's kind of just doomed if they can't lock down anybody else with the members just eventually arriving from Resolve's end.
And, it's all well and good killing off Chimera, but there's an Ezreal now at 3 items and a Frozen Heart to make him even harder to take down. There's a Renekton who's not exactly weak at this point, and look at Soft. He is absolutely monstrously fed right now. He's got a Death Dance in inventory, so those AD carries are going to tickle at best right now versus this Ruin King, and maybe they can try and get Caleb here, but he's going to have a slice. He'll have a dice in Warzy. He's going to have to try and work out how to duel this one, and the culling means nothing. Spectral more. Warzy going to try and escape best they can. The Solar Flare is there to try and buy space, but MTS is just dead. To right, Soft is legendary, will steal the corpse of Lucian and now run into the rest of them with Lucian's items to work with. And Dusty, I think this is just it, Jamada.
Yeah, this should be. They're diving onto the Nexus towers. No. Boya's gone. Barlu's gone. Zombie, I mean, he might survive, but quite frankly, Dusty aren't going to survive the regular season of the NLC. They're going to be playing in the relegation series later on, I believe.
Ash to Ash, Dusty to Dusty.
Yeah.
They fall out. They'll be in relegations. Their season, unfortunately, comes to a anticlimactic close. And Resolve, after a slightly scary laning phase, came out very convincingly in the team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is the kind of Resolve. I mean, it's against Dusty, right? So I'm not going to overhype them, but this is the kind of decisiveness that we've wanted to see from Resolve for a majority of the split. It's just not been there, but today, completely outclassed Dusty. Definitely commiserations, however, to Dusty, because again, it's a very talented roster. We've seen loads of these players have a lot of their moments to shine, But quite frankly, something hasn't clicked throughout the split, unfortunately for them, and they will be playing in the relegation series now after this result.
Commiserations to Dusty, of course. They'll have one more game on Tuesday, but as far as their season goes, that's their position locked in. But enough from us. The desk will have more to give you. So we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, they'll be talking with some members and talking about the game. Stick around.